My name is Cleo Fields. I'm from Baton Rouge, 14th Senatorial District. I've represented this area of the state before as a member of Congress. I was elected to Congress in 1993. I served until 1997, until the district was declared unconstitutional. And it's good to be with the Chamber of Commerce of Shreveport, Louisiana. I have a unique background. I mean, and I think it's best suited to represent the people of the 6th District in the U.S. Congress today. I have one unique thing about returning me to Congress is there is not another member person who's running for Congress who will have the luxury of having 4 years of seniority, which matters. It helps with committee assignments. And if I'm elected to Congress, I'm going to have an opportunity to go back to Washington and start not at the bottom, but start with 4 years of seniority. That is unique because that helps me with committee assignments. I want committee assignments that would help me assist the people of the district, and that's an important factor. Well, that's a very good question because at the end of the day, it is a very diverse district. You got agriculture, which is a part of the district. You got urban areas, which is a part of the district, and you got rural parishes and towns. The good thing about it is I've had an opportunity to serve just about every town, every village, every municipality in the entire 6th congressional district before as a member of Congress. And the way I did it, the base of my staff was always located here in Louisiana, not in Washington, D.C., because I believe in bringing Congress to the people. There are so many needs in this district, agriculture needs. There are so many small towns and villages, even the big urban towns that don't have water systems that are adequate. Many of the water systems are deplorable, and they need help. And that's why the Congress passed an infrastructure bill. But the problem is we need a congressman who help these local towns to actually access the money. So that's one of the reasons why I think I'm uniquely positioned in serving the 6th congressional district. Well, there are three main priorities. One, obviously, education. I have a very strong background in the area of education, and it started back, when I was in Congress the last time. When I was in Congress, there was a caucus for every single thing under the sun, but there was no caucus for education. I'm proud to say that I started the caucus for education. I got Senator Wellstone from the Senate, and I said, "Give me 10 members," and I got 10 members from the House. And people were saying you can't get infrastructure dollars for education. That's the local government's responsibility. But we did. We lobbied at that time, President Clinton, and we were able to put billions of dollars in school infrastructure. So education obviously is so important. Early childhood education. I think we are making we're not making the necessary investment in kids early. Giving them a test in the 3rd grade and telling them they read below their grade level is not enough. We got to invest in kids on the front side of life. So that's why when I was in the state Senate, I passed a mandatory kindergarten. But even kindergarten is too late. I mean, we really need kids, in some type of formal learning programs doing Head Start and pre-K, because kids learn most, between birth and 5 years of age, and we need to take advantage of that. When we do that, we don't have to spend so much money on the backside of life, like jails and prisons and incarceration. Infrastructure, that's a major, broadband. There are so many places in this district that do not have high quality access to the internet. And it's absolutely, ridiculous. And we need to close that gap. And we're closing it. We have a very aggressive program here in the state, thanks to Washington, that's really closing that gap, because you cannot expect kids to not be able to have access to the internet. Economic development. Look, I'm impressed with what one investor that we talked about earlier, who has brought or is bringing economic development to the Shreveport-Bossier area. I think we need those type of public-private partnerships all over the district. So those are three things that I intend to do and help with each of those areas. Yeah, very good question again. Look, when I was first elected to Congress, we kept trying to extend I-49. Now it's time to just get it done. There's been too much debate about it, too much talk about it, and obviously it takes a big push from Congress. That's something that I'm just totally clued in on and totally support. Barksdale is just such an economic engine. You got so many families that live there. You got so many, and it's a strategic location for our military. It needs to be supported. I supported it when I was in Congress. During that time, it was very difficult because, I served in Congress when we were basically closing bases, across the country. And I did everything I could do to make sure I tried to keep England Air Force Base, for example, but it wasn't a part of the military strategic plan, so it got closed. But Barksdale is just so important. I see Barksdale, and I think they started working with tech, with their cyber security program. It's a great opportunity for this major military base to interface with our higher education institutions as well. But look, fully supportive of Barksdale. Excited to go back to Congress to continue to fight for Barksdale. And I think it's a big economic engine for this region of the state. But not only an economic engine for the region of the state, it is a major part of our defense system in this country. Well, look, I think it's essential that we move in that direction. Here's why. Because, navigating big vessels brings economic development. We have to be able to dredge. We have to be able to, and even in Marksville, for example, I was in Marksville the other day and was talking to, the mayor. And their interest was, look, we need to get cargo here so that we could, we can, spur economic development. And at first, I was like, really? And it makes so much sense. But expanding it, dredging it, yes. We have always in Louisiana relied on our waterways for economic development. And although now it's not like way back then, it is much more sophisticated now. And I just think that we need to work with our ports all across the state, and do everything we can do to make sure that we have more navigation of more vessels coming through the Red River. Red River is just so strategically located when you really look at it. And in fact, I'm going to be working very hard in Congress to support initiatives to broaden it and to get larger vessels, because it's really my district, and I'm excited about that. When I was in Congress last, I told my staff, I said, listen, don't feel all warm and fuzzy about being a congressional staffer. This is real hard work, and that's one of the first things I say to them. And I've just been very blessed with extraordinary people. I mean, look, we have oil and gas, and it's going to be with us. It's part of our economic growth. But we also have to have the foresight to know that renewable energy is the thing of the future. And I think there needs to be a balance. I mean, you just can't, you can't just move from oil and gas to renewable energy overnight. It's going to take some time, but I do think it's a necessary step. Now, some people don't necessarily like it, but at the end of the day, if there is a way we can do things cleaner and better, and not pollute our environment as much, then we should do it. In the Bible it says, "The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof." We have a moral responsibility to protect this land for the next generation and generations to come. And if making that transition will help do that, and I think it will, we should do it, because I think that's the moral, responsible thing to do in the nation. Look, this is one of my pet peeves. As I said, I started working on education when I was in Congress. When I go back to Congress, I really want to work on early childhood education. Last year in the legislature, we appropriated $50 million to early childhood education. This year, we appropriated, I think, like $15 million. Look, we cannot. There's no such thing as doing too much for early childhood education. We have to invest more money in Head Start. We have to invest more money in early learning, because that's where the rubber meets the road. That's when you're making a difference. People say, well, we got, juvenile crime is out of control. Well, it's because we didn't invest in early childhood education. And I hate when parents have to choose between, sending their kid to the daycare or going to work. Or the other option is send them to grandmother, where she's keeping 2 or 3 other kids. I mean, at the end of the day, access to early childhood education, should be accessible to every single parent in this state. And I'm going to work tirelessly to make that happen, because it's a vicious cycle. When the kid is not involved in early childhood education, bad results happen. Bad results happen 80% of the time. And so we just have to be cognizant of that and invest in it, and make sure, that we take care of the most vulnerable citizens of our society, and that's our children. And if we don't invest in the front side, we don't have to invest in the back side. I'd far rather to put more money in early childhood education than put it in incarceration prisons on the back side. Well, look, yeah, we are the United States is the leader uh, of the free world, and we have to act as such. I mean, look, there are too many tensions. They need to be toned down. We need to have real, rational dialogue with other countries. And look, we're not the police of the world, but we're part of the world, and in order for the world to be responsible to its neighbors, we have to be a player. And I think the first thing we can do is tone it down here in America. I just think it's unconscionable that members of Congress are not talking from different parties. I don't even understand how we govern doing that. Democrats need to talk to Republicans. Republicans need to talk to Democrats, because if we can't talk to each other, then how can we talk to other countries? I think the rhetoric needs to be toned down on both sides, and we need to have people who govern again. We need to have adults in the room again. And I think once we have adults in the room, we can do a better job at talking with, not at our neighbors, and settling them down. Yes, there are threats abroad, threats that I don't know about, you don't know about, because we're not privy to that information. But I do know what I see here in America, and I do think that we can do a better job here, and consequently, we'll be doing a better job internationally. That's a very good question. And when I left Congress, I didn't frequent Congress much. But I remember about 3 years ago, I went to Washington, and I wanted to meet with a fellow former member of Congress, and I was told that because he was a R and I was obviously a D, that you almost like you couldn't be seen with a D and an R, it couldn't be seen together. Look, all I know is that's not the way it used to be. I can vividly remember having very engaging conversations with Republicans like Newt Gingrich. Newt and I served in the legislature, in the Congress together. And after those engagements, there would be civility. I mean, we would sit, we would talk, have dinner, and we were able to understand each other's point of view a little better. Didn't mean that we would always support each other, but we understood it a little better. I remember having a big engagement about the summer feeding program in Congress, and there was a member of Congress from Florida. I think he was from Florida, and we had a big engagement about that on the, talking about the need for it, and he was saying there was no need. Every parent need to feed their children. The government should be responsible for it. Until he and I had an off-the-floor conversation. I said, I'm a beneficiary of the summer feeding program. My mom and dad had 10 children. Daddy died when I was 5. My mama worked 3 jobs. Mama wasn't lazy, just needed a little help from the government. And he understood it better then. But that would have never happened had we not had that off the floor conversation. We need to talk more. We need to get to know each other's families. Something different happens on that floor when his son or his daughter, his wife, and him personally, not just him who shows up at work and fight for what he or she believes in, but the personal side of him or her. And I just think we need more of that. I'm going to go to Washington. I can't wave any magic wands, but I'm going to Washington to try to recreate that because I do think it has an effect on how people view us internationally. We have to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. I'm just a, simple person, grew up by way of the rough side of the mountain, worked hard all of my life. My mom told me I could be whatever I wanted to be, but I had to work for it. And I have. And very few people get second chances to do the same thing. This is unique for me, and it's just a blessing from God. I was in Opelousas the other day, and a gentleman walked up to me and said, Cleo Fields, I'm going to vote for you because your daddy was a great congressman. And he went on and on about how my daddy was a great congressman. And I said to him, I'm that person, I started so young, and at 28, I was elected to Congress, served at 29. And it's the same Cleo Fields, and I'm blessed for that. I'm very happy and excited that I have an opportunity to go back to Congress and take that 4 years that people invested in me and gain some seniority. When I start off, I'm going to be the most senior member of the freshman class. Not only that, I'm going to be the most senior member of the last class. So at the end of the day, that is something good. And I want to go back and finish fighting for education. I want to finish fighting for the environment. I want to finish fighting for economic development in schools and colleges. Kids pay too much, for higher education is just almost unattainable from a price perspective for most kids and families in this country. I want to fix that. Seniors, prescription drugs, I want to cap them, because we can do better. But I want to thank the Chamber for giving me this opportunity to talk to the people of Shreveport and surrounding areas. And whatever you do, even if you don't vote for me, voting is so important. I want every person who's watching this video to please get out and vote. I'm number 21 on the ballot. Thank you for your time.